It's time for 41 is the Mic, a weekly Chiefs podcast with Nick Jacobs of KSHB 41 and Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mic starts now.
I have no idea how you can do anything but laugh after a game like this. The Chiefs are AFC West champions. 41 is the Mic. I am Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, along with doink enthusiast Nick Jacobs from KSHB 41.
Talking about the WWE wrestler? That's what we're talking about?
I mean, it's been a while since we've had a Chiefs doink victory. I mean, it was echoes of Cairo Santos in Denver, Nick, but Matt Wright with the kiss, the bank was open, and the Chiefs are AFC West champs for the 9th straight time, thanks to a hard-fought 1917 win over the Chargers. I mean, what else can this team do, Nick?
Apparently, just keep winning and frustrating their fans. So that's about all they're going to be able to do.
All right, 15 straight one-score wins that this team has. I mean, this was basically everything at the game tonight, Nick. I mean, you just after the game, you could not walk around without running into anybody, and if you locked eyes with somebody that you knew, you just started laughing hysterically because this team, Nick, it's just I don't even know what to say anymore. The way that this team wins games, and you're right. I mean, they're making their fans mad. They're 12-1, Nick. They're probably going to have the number 1 seed in the AFC here in just a matter of weeks. How can you be mad about this?
Let's pump the brakes. Let's take it one game at a time right now.
Well, we got a lot to talk about to go through all of this, but yes, the Chiefs are your AFC West champions. That has been taken care of. The Buffalo Bills lost. They're 10-3 now, so the Chiefs have a little bit of breathing room, and we'll get into what all that means later on, but I mean, let's start with the big winning moment, Nick. I mean, Chiefs now have had 3 game-winning kicks from 3 different kickers as time expires this year. Matt Wright with the latest one and did it in a pretty special way, Nick. I mean, why make it simple and easy when you can just, kiss it off the goalpost?
I'm telling you, man, like whenever they were doing the kneel downs and everything, I was like, it's not Harrison back there, right? This isn't automatic. I mean, and then when he kicked it off, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. All right. I mean, look, hey, they won. They got through it. But I'm also mindful of what I saw the Chargers do last week when I was watching the Falcons game and the fact that I don't have J.K. Dobbins and Ladd McConkey out there. I'm fully aware of kind of what the circumstances were. So that's my fault for having expectations going into the game.
Never have expectations, Nick. That's why, as a Mizzou Tiger fan, which I have my Mizzou Tiger shirt on, I expected the Mizzou Tigers to lose by 50 to Kansas. See? If you go in with low expectations, you can only be happy.
That's probably an accurate motto.
I mean, I saw the same thing. I had a different thought because I had confidence in Matt Wright. I didn't think that there was any problem with him making the kick. I mean, just like I thought that the Chiefs were guaranteed to beat the Raiders last week.
You could tell me
all the way.
You could tell me right now a kicker is 100 out of 100, makes it every single time. Doesn't matter with their name or who they are. I'm still going to be paranoid, Matt, because paranoia equals prepared.
But see, I had some sort of 3D chess going through my mind that it was like, okay, clearly the Chiefs have talked with Matt Wright, figured out which hash he wants to be on, where he wants to be, all this spot. And when I asked Matt after the game, like, hey, did you go through all this planning before the game about in this situation? Which hash do you want to be on each side of the field? He's like, no, we really didn't talk about it. So,
probably should have lied about that and been like, yeah, we went over it.
Might also be something you might want to go over with your, second emergency kicker in the future about, where he wants to be on the field when he tries game-winning kicks. But, I mean, it's working out for them.
No,
So,
Matt, here's the thing I want to say in defense. I've learned when I talk to people sometime in business, they may not be paying attention at that point. So, and then they still ask you a question after the fact about something you already went over with them.
And there's That is also true. And also, I thought it was notable that, when Matt was asked about what he was thinking, what was going through his mind after making the kick, and he's like, I really don't remember anything. It was very McCole Hardman touchdown-esque. I think after he made the kick, he just kind of shut down for a little bit. So there might have been a lot of things that just blinked out of the memory.
Too much for him to handle, apparently. I get it.
It's like the Men in Black, mine gun there.
Like Johnny Five.
Exactly. All right, let's offensively. This team had two good drives. I'll give them 2 good drives because they had a touchdown drive, which was fine. Mm-hmm. It was effective, and
the touchdown drive wasn't fine. That was their best drive all game.
It wasn't fine. Well, it was. I mean, on a sliding scale, it was fine. I mean, it could have been better, but I mean, it got the job done.
Look, their best drive is their best drive, man.
Best drive. Second best drive was the drive at the end of the game. I mean, that's when this offense looked its best today. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was just when they were almost in hurry up mode, but specifically when Mahomes was just getting rid of the football on time and just dropping and throwing.
It comes back to what we've talked about before. When you get Mahomes in a rhythm, he is lethal. That is what that is the wheelhouse that guy lives in. So, but if it's open and he can throw it, boom, boom, it's going the way he thought, boom, boom, then that's when the magic happens with Mahomes still. So whenever people complain about his arm and his deep pass and how terribly is his thrower, this or that, like I see littered on my timeline on a regular basis, the thing they continually don't account for is when he has to hurry his throws and when he is not trusting what's happening at the tackle spot. So, like, I mean, look, there's only so many times somebody can get hit in like a human pinata and then not have it affect them or alter them in any way. That happens to any quarterback. So, I mean, like, I'm just telling you, like, I get that people want to nitpick where he should be at based on the financial compensation he gets, but there's also the real world. And in the real world, like, quarterbacks are going to be affected by that. That's going to mess with their mechanics. It's going to mess with their timing. And you see when Mahomes has the timing, when the guys are in rhythm collectively, when things get to where they need to go, then that is when this offense can still shine. But opponents play too, and they take things away on series. And whenever they predict right on what the Chiefs are going to do on offense, the Chiefs have an uphill battle on a regular basis.
I have a crazy question for you. What would happen to both yourself as an observer and Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback if he had pockets that resembled what Justin Herbert had tonight?
You mean like okay,
like all day to throw and open space for days?
Look, here's like I tweeted out earlier tonight. Like, I get more and more annoyed each week whenever I watch opponents go against the Chiefs and, like, how wide the pocket is, how much time the quarterback has in the pocket, and sometimes they have 5 to 7 seconds, and there's no reason for them to have 5 to 7 seconds, but they do. And then you see Patrick 2.5 seconds tops, one sometimes 1.5, maybe 2 seconds. That's what he gets, and he's got to take off running. And so, yeah, it's just frustrating, but it also shows some deficiencies in the Chiefs' passing game at times, but then it also shows a lot of the other O-line coaches in the league and some of the stuff they're able to do versus what the Chiefs' offensive line coaching staff is doing right now. That's a much more bigger topic in the offseason, but I'm not going to pretend it's not frustrating because there was times whenever Humphries out there, like I understand he's new and like they're trying to do Chargers run the pickup and pass off to see how they handle it with the TE stunt and Khalil Mack crashed in between Humphrey and Tooney, and then the D tackle looped around and D tackle got free and was able to kind of take a shot because Humphries and Tooney were both trying to block Khalil Mack together. And then that was one of those times Mahomes got hit. And then, like, when I'm going to go through it, I'm just going to get irritated watching coaches film. And, like, this isn't new. And like, I'm not upset with Humphries. like the fact he was out there whenever, what happened with him when he got injured. Like that was the concern whenever I tell you, I was like, if they get him ready by Cleveland, they're lucky. Like that, and like they put him out there tonight, and he did the best he could. But I'm telling you, like it's gonna be if he, depending on where his injury's at and everything, it's gonna be at least a month of him knocking off rust and going through his own version of training camp. Like, so I mean, we'll see what happens and where his status is after, because I don't believe Andy Reid had anything in the presser afterwards.
No, he did not. I mean, all we know information is that he left the game with a hamstring injury. He did not go straight back to the locker room. He stayed on the sidelines for the end of the game. We'll see if that's significant in any way. Hamstrings, I mean, you're going to be worried. I mean, because those are something that can linger and something that can keep you out. And yes, I mean, when you rush DJ Humphries into action, this is a possibility. And I mean, he was already this was his opportunity to try and knock off rust. I mean, he didn't have any preseason. He's had one padded practice that we know of this, since January. So, I mean, I thought he was put into an incredibly difficult spot, and there was almost no way to win.
No.
So, the other part that was really disappointing to me, Nick, though, is that, and I'll see what we think when we do look at the all 22 and look at it on a replay. It seemed like that there was breakdowns all across the offensive line tonight. I mean, I know that Humphries had a rough night, 40 dropbacks, 8 pressures that he had, but there were pressures coming from other areas too, and it wasn't just Juwan Taylor. I mean, there was pressure coming up the middle.
Yeah, I'll be interested to kind of see it on all 22 and see what was happening. But the Chargers had a very good beat on what the Chiefs are going to do pass protection-wise and what they're going to do based on their formations. And this isn't the first week I've said this. This feels like the 4th or 5th week in a row that I've said this, that opponents have had a pretty good vibe on what the Chiefs are going to do based out of their formations and how the O-line protections were going to go and where they could kind of sneak up from time to time and bring a corner blitz here or be able to manipulate the pick up and pass off at the right guard, right tackle spot. And I could continue on, but I don't really feel like it because I'm trying to have a positive podcast here. And so, yeah, like there's a lot of O-line protection issues, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of answers right now. And that's where I have concern.
All right, as we go over to the defensive side, let's try and stay a little positive. First positive, scoreless first half. That was nice for a defense that's been struggling the last couple of weeks.
And here's where I'm going to ruin it and be a Debbie Downer, as they say in the comment section. I'm always going to be curious what this game would have been like with Ladd McConkey and J.K. Dobbins out there. I think that goes a little bit differently, and I don't think the Chargers are scoreless in the first half. And that Chiefs D-line looked tired half the night. They really looked worn out there. And then obviously the yelling that happened, or the disagreement that happened with Chris Jones calling the timeout, how much NBC broadcast that and showed multiple replays from multiple angles of it, and then the Chargers end up converting. I mean, it looked like Chris was saying like they couldn't hear, and I'm assuming with the headset or something that happened there, and he wanted to make sure they got the play right, was how the broadcast was kind of showing between the replays, but I don't know that to be definitive. I don't know it to be fact. I know Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo didn't look thrilled in the replays that we saw, but like, hey, at the end of the day, It didn't burn them this week. It didn't burn them this time with that timeout being called where it was. But yeah, I mean there was breakdowns along the defense. But I mean the Chiefs got 3 sacks. Wharton had a pretty impressive night, and Mike Dana, I think he looked a little bit better out there. And then Bolton had a really big hit on Justin Herbert, and then he had that sack on top of it. So the Chiefs were able to. I would like to remind myself that other than right guard, the Chargers have a really good offensive line, and that's the spot. They have an opening at right guard, and if the Chiefs don't pay Trey Smith, I'm concerned Trey Smith's going to be filling that vacancy in the offseason. So just a little bit of a warning there, if anybody from the Chiefs front office is listening. Like Trey Smith really brings that whole offensive line together, just like in the Big Lebowski when that rug brought the room together.
I mean, Nick, I always defend you as the Debbie Downer because you're not really a Debbie Downer. You just play one on the podcast. But if you start talking about Trey Smith going to the Chargers, you are going to, I mean, I am going to have to stop defending you as the Debbie Downer. Don't do that to me, Nick.
Don't worry. People have called me a lot worse in my lifetime. So keep bringing it.
Well, I mean, we'll put a pin in this for now. But you mentioned Tershawn Wharton. That young man is making some money. He's gonna bank in the offseason with the season that he's having right now.
Yeah, he's doing what he has to get paid in free agency, and I can't blame him one bit.
I guess I'm going to be a little bit the Debbie Downer here because I look at these two teams today in this game and you look at the statistics and I mean, there's a reason why it was 19-17. It was very even. The two quarterback numbers were very even. The run games were very even. I mean, everything across the board. About the only thing that really wasn't even was that the Chargers dominated this game at the line of scrimmage on both sides.
Yep.
I mean, I'm kind of perplexed that I mean, yes, they didn't have their number one running back. They didn't have their best receiver. So maybe that's why this game was the way that it was. But because the Chargers, they dominated both sides of the line of scrimmage. Usually that team wins.
Yeah. I think part of it comes down to a handful of things. Some of the penalties the Chargers had really helped the Chiefs in certain spots, whether it was, holding illegal contact or PI, depending on what drive it was. And then the kick there at the end that allowed the Chiefs to start there at the 40 and really not have to drive the entire length of the field. That was a massive penalty that really burned them. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Chargers had a better O-line, D-line. I'm not gonna say that they didn't. They really did. And but the crazy thing is like watching the Chargers D-line last week, as I told you, between you and I, conversation wise, like they looked old and slow last week against the Falcons. And so to see them have new life the way they did against that Chiefs O-line was kind of a bummer to see. And that's probably what I'm disappointed most about. Like, I'm not upset that DJ Humphries didn't have, an elite night. I was never thinking that. That would be unrealistic. But to kind of see across the board how many times Mahomes got hit, that was a little bit more disappointing than I anticipated. What I was expecting production-wise from them tonight.
I mean, okay, defensive line had I guess maybe we'll just call it an inconsistent night. Tershawn Wharton was a really good piece. I mean, Chris Jones did what Chris Jones usually does. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Tershawn Wharton was able to have 2 sacks, because Chris Jones does what he does, facing doubles and triple teams. But, I mean, and I thought that the rest of the defense, I thought, played pretty well. I thought Justin Reed kind of got the bad end of a questionable pass interference call.
Mm-hmm.
The referee official told him that he just needed to turn around earlier. I thought he turned around
at the perfect time.
So, if anything, I thought it should have probably been offensive pass interference because the receiver trying to go through Justin Reed after he turned back to the quarterback. But your mileage may vary, Nick.
And it did.
But despite what I thought was a lot of successes, the number 2 cornerback spot was another kind of black hole tonight.
I mean, hey, there's a reason that report came out by Ian Rappaport that Steven Nelson's reportedly coming into town and everything. So we'll see how that shakes out and if there's any other corners that are coming in. Yeah, I mean, like part of it is depending on how the pass rush does and quickly they can get back there. Like that determines how long that secondary is going to cover and where the holes may be. And I mean, they were going out of their way to go after Brian Cook a couple of times, and then there were certain things they were trying to manipulate in some of the Chiefs' zone coverage that they were able to do from time to time. But yeah, whenever there was that one pass, and I can't remember if they missed it or how that went, but I know Brian Cook turned the wrong way, and then whenever he had a quarter turn and then try to catch up, like it showed where, like I've talked about multiple weeks, to where coming off that ankle injury, to where that explosiveness to be able to close that gap and close that distance, just it still isn't there yet. And that's not a knock on him. That's just part of trying to get back to 100%.
And Josh Williams steps back into the starting lineup at the number 2 spot opposite McDuffie. And I'll be honest, Nick, I mean, I thought tonight, and maybe this was a little bit the way that Nazee's looked, I'm going to almost make comparisons to what was happening at left tackle on the offensive side. I mean, tonight, I saw a couple of times Josh Williams just going the wrong direction. I mean, he kind of looks like he's swimming a little bit right now, as just maybe he's second guessing himself. Najee Johnson's maybe second guessing himself. Keith Taylor comes in again. I mean, that's why maybe Steven Nelson is going to be visiting on Monday. And this is not a judgment on Steven Nelson, but if the Chiefs feel like a guy who retired in June and hasn't played all season is a solution, that's scary, Nick.
Matt, that's reality right now, brother.
It is scary. I mean, we're gonna see what happens. But all right, we're trying to be optimistic, Nick. So let's talk about the really, really good news. The really, really good news, obviously, we talked at the very top. Chiefs are AFC West champions 9 times in a row. It's pretty cool. Second longest streak behind just the Patriots. Got a couple more to catch up with the Patriots, but that's a pretty cool deal. I would like to point out that I've been on the Chiefs beat since 2016. I mean, the Chiefs have won the AFC West every year I've been on the beat. So I'm just saying, my tenure and their streak the exact same. So you don't want anything to happen to me. I'm just saying.
I've been to a couple different years, experienced a couple different years around that franchise.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different years. Folks who've been around longer than me have seen some things. Nick, you've seen some things.
Dude, 2012 was like the worst. The worst. 2011 was weird. That was a weird year with the whole Todd Haley thing, and then when he finally got let go, and then 2012 was a whole different ballgame.
It was a rough year, but it did lead to Andy Reid, so
that's why I do appreciate everything in terms of like what I get to watch football wise on a weekly basis and what they've done collectively from a roster construction during this time and just what they've been able to do as a collective football team, because I do remember each time walking into that locker room, whenever it was a different culture and different time and different era.
2012 are the worst team in the NFL, and 4 years later they start a 9 years and counting streak of winning division titles.
Yeah, I had to wait for Peyton Manning to retire, and then once that was done, boom, it was all theirs.
Well, in addition to winning the AFC West, the Chiefs, their magic number is essentially 3. So with both the Bills and the Steelers, any combination of 3 Chiefs wins and losses by each of those teams will eliminate them from the number 1 seed hunt. I mean, the Chiefs, within their own grasp, could win the next 3 games, lock up the number 1 seed. However, thanks to the Bills losing today and falling to 10-3, they're playing the Lions next week, Nick. And the Steelers are playing the Eagles. Those 2 teams are playing the 2 best teams in the NFC next week. Those are very losable games, Nick.
That's why the Chiefs got to take care of business against a Browns team that can sneak up on you from time to time. After what they did against the Broncos, I mean, they start off strong against the Steelers today, from what I was able to watch, and then I didn't get to see how quickly it got away, but I know when I looked up in between some stuff I was doing in the rundown before our pregame show, and I looked up and I was like, well, that score's a lot different now. So yeah.
Yeah, and old friend Kadarius Toney had a rough day in Cleveland for the Browns. But and next, I mean, in this game, let's face it, I mean, it's always an emotional game for Travis Kelce going back home. Anytime he gets that, it's a big game for him. Kareem Hunt's back with the Chiefs. That's a homecoming for him. Isaiah Pacheco got the start ahead of him tonight. Kind of be interested to see if the Chiefs might showcase Kareem a little bit more. They've gave him a little bit of a night off tonight, Nick, especially compared to his workload while Isaiah was out.
Look, just like Dory says, just keep swimming and finding Nemo. The Chiefs just keep winning. What they're gonna have to do if they want that 1 seed and the bye that they desperately need right now.
Yeah, that's the thing to me. I mean, all these guys seem tired. We talked about watching it, but I tell you what, I mean, and I've got the interview up at Chiefs Digest on YouTube. You got to watch Travis Kelce's post-game interview. Travis was exhausted after this game. And like I said, he's not alone. It's not just isolating him, but it illustrates how winning these close games has taken a toll on this team. And having to play close games means your starters are playing full out all the way to the very end. There's no rest. There's no letting them up. And, Andy Reid said last week, possibility was, when asked about there might be some load management at the end of the season, he said it's a possibility, just not against the Chargers. So we'll see what happens. But this is a team that not only needs to bye, they just need a rest.
Yeah, you got to keep winning, though, if you want that to happen right now. Until you can get that official 1 seed locked in, which is what they're going to have to figure out a way to keep battling through it till then.
Well, winning is what this team keeps doing, Nick. 12-1. I don't know how to keep doing it, and I'm not sure how they're going to win it next week. I mean, a pick 2 something, I don't know. I can't even imagine what is next on the Chiefs bingo card of close wins.
I don't know. I'm hoping Myles Garrett is not able to get to Patrick Mahomes. We'll see what Jim Schwartz brings, man. Jim Schwartz is going to try to be ferocious against them next week, so I'll be looking closely at the Browns. But yeah, they're it's going to be a tougher game than there for a little bit. It all depends on Jameis Winston and if he wants to throw some touchdown passes to the Chiefs or not.
Good Jameis or bad Jameis shows up, and
both show up in a whole game.
That's the thing. You get both. You get them both. No. Jameis can giveth and he can taketh away. All right, everybody. Chiefs win another one, another dramatic one, another fun one. They keep on rolling. Tuesday night, Chiefs Digest live Q&A, Nick and myself. And then, of course, next week after a noon game, Nick.
Yes.
We love those. We love those early games. And then that means 41 is the Mike will be in your feed just a little bit earlier than it was for this one. So
one can hope. We'll see how the day goes.
That's right. We'll hope. We'll see how the schedules all work out. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great week ahead. We'll see you on Tuesday night and then again next week for 41 is the Mike.
You've been listening to 41 is the Mike, presented by KSHB 41, your home of the Chiefs and Chiefs Digest.